last week we finished number 330, mitzvah number 330, and that was to count 7 years 7 times, and the 58 years, it's called Shnat Yovel. The 58th year, it's a special year, and all the properties go back to the original owners, and the slaves are released, and there's all kinds of rules. They blow shofar. There's all kinds of rules that apply. The Torah name all the obligations that we have to follow on the 50th year. That was last week, last mitzvah. Today we are continuing number 331. It's mitzvah to blow the shofar on Yom HaKippurim of the 50th year. Every 50 years, which is Shnat Yovel, we are talking in Israel. When the 50th year arrives, they blow a shofar in the 10th day of Tishrei, which is Yom Kippur. For instance, if Bet HaMikdash would be today, and we would be in Eretz Israel, so every 50 years it will be this coming Shabbat. It will be on Yom HaKippurim. So they have to blow the shofar, and it says, the Torah says, B'Yom HaKippurim ta'aviru shofar b'chol artzechem, ukra'atem dror. And it's once the shofar is heard, all the slaves are being released. But which kind of slave? Hebrew slaves, the ones who are originally were Jewish. Even though every non-Jewish slave, when he becomes a slave, they convert him, and he has a status of a woman in halacha. And he has to keep all the laws that are not subject to limited time. Mitzvot that are subject to specific time is not obligated. But such as tefillin, which is only during the day, and davening, special time for morning, for evening, for night. So he's not subject to it. He has only the obligations of a woman. Plus, of course, he has to keep Shabbat, even though it's limited to one day a week. But the Torah specifically said that all the restrictions apply to the women as well. Shamor ve'zachor. Right? And that's, from here we learn that women also have to keep Shabbat, and also the slaves. But here we are talking Even Ivri, that came for 7 years. A goy that comes to be a slave, it's for good. But here it's a cycle of 7 years. Right? So what happens if it's 3 years? It's only 3 years a slave, and the Yovel come. You don't have to wait an extra 4 years. The Yovel come and finish it. Okay? It's a little bit similar to someone, lo aleinu, that has to sit Shiva. Let's say his father passed away 2 days before Yom Tov. And he sits for 2 days, and comes the holiday. So he gets up. Yom Tov, cut, and the morning, even though he didn't finish, comes I just know somebody who passed away 2 days before Rosh Hashanah, and came the 3 days of Rosh Hashanah and Shabbat, and basically cut the Shiva and finished it. So obviously they're publishing the freedom of every Eved Ivri, and he's getting released without paying any money. And this is the mitzvah number 331. Mitzvah number 332, it's to make that year of the Yovel, the 58th year, holy. Which means, just like we make the Shnat Shemitah, the 7th year, we make it holy as far as the vegetables, the fruits, everything who grows. And here in the 50th year, we do it just as much, the same thing. V'kidashtem et shnat ha-50, all the fruit, everything become hefker. All the poor people can come and eat as much as they want, because the owner cannot gain any profit from it. He cannot work in the ground, cannot plow, cannot seed new seeds, cannot clean the weeds, and all these things that normally farmers are doing are forbidden in the 50th year. Mitzvah number 333, the same thing we said before, that the Torah said to make it holy, which means not to do anything. Now it comes and repeat the same obligation in a different kind of speaking, which is that we should not work on the ground. So now it's a restriction. Before it was mitzvah taseh, to sanctify the 50th year, which whatever that means. And now we should not work on the ground in any way. Mitzvah number 334, not to cut the spichim of Tvuah, all the things that I said last time in Shnat Shemitah, last week we spoke about Shnat Shemitah, the 7th year, all the things that grow around, all the weeds, all the things that grow from the ground, it's called sfichim, also not allowed, just like in a regular Shnat Shemitah. Mitzvah number 335, not to collect any fruit from the trees as we do it normally every year. Same thing in Shnat Shemitah, we're not allowed to pick them from the trees. Same thing over here. Same rules apply. Everything that applies in a regular 7th year applies in 58 years as well. Mitzvah number 336, Mitzvat Asiyat Din Ben Lokeach U'Mocher. It means if there is a seller and a buyer, and there is an argument between them about money. He claims the owe him, he claims the owe him, whatever the case may be, then there's an obligation for the Beit Din to judge them according to the rules of the Torah. Same thing, mazik v'nizak, someone who make a damage and someone who received the damage. Same thing, if they come, you have to judge them according to the rules of the Torah. There is no permission whatsoever to go to a secular court or to a non-Jewish court. Even if you know that the rule in that specific case will be exactly the same, that the Goyim will judge just like the Torah, accidentally it came to be exactly like Hashem, still no permission to give any authority and any power to these judges which are sitting in a secular court, even if they have a yarmulke on their head. Just the fact that they're sitting in a Beit Din, they cannot participate in a minyan bichlal, even if they have a yarmulke, even if they shomer Shabbos. If he sits in a non-Jewish court, and he's judging people according to the rules of the Goyim or according to the secular rules that they copy from the British in Israel or in the Turkish that were in Israel before, even if he has a yarmulke on, he's considered a wicked Jew, and he cannot participate in minyan. You cannot count him in one of the minyan, even though he puts tefillin every day, he keeps Shabbat. That's a very big sin, to judge not according to the rules of God, which means you give authority to people laws and you dismiss the law of the creator of the world. It's a very, very serious sin. If a Jew calls another Jew to a secular court and wants to sue him over there, that Jew has to put on a cherem, on a ban. The Beit Din issue a letter against him, they hang everywhere, and then this person have a very serious problem. Even to put his children in school, it will be a hard thing, because they already said that he going to a non-Jewish or report a Jew to the authority, Moser. All these things are very serious sins that sometimes people don't understand how severe is their sin. So here the Torah say you have to do it only. The only way that a Jew is allowed to take another Jew to a secular court or to a Goyish court, if the other Jew refuses to come to Beit Din, they send him 3 times an invitation and he ignores it. Then they give him permission to go and to use the authorities, because the Jewish Beit Din in our days don't have the power to control the police. But in the old days, when they used to have the court in Eretz Israel, according to the Torah, if somebody messed with the Jewish court and disrespect them or didn't obey their invitation, right away they had the authority to send the police and bring him forcefully. But today we don't have this power. Therefore, if he takes advantage that he thinks, what can they do to me? Then they issue a last warning to him, and after that, then they give you permission, but at least you know you did according to the instruction of the Beit Din. Mitzvah number 337, not to deceive any person in business, a Jew or a non-Jew. A person is not allowed to deceive, no male, no female, no Jew, no non-Jew, any kind of human being. When you sell to him a product, you have to give him what you declare. If he asks you if it's brand new, it has to be, and you say yes, it has to be brand new, not refurbished, not used, not all kinds of things. If he tell you, I want this model, you're not allowed to cheat him and give him a cheaper model, and many things. Also on a service, when you sell service, you have to tell them all the hidden fees, certain things that the salespeople like to forget when they sign a contract. Then it's called deceiving, ona'ah. And most of the time, when the person who signed the contract discovers that he has extra fees later, if he goes to Beit Din, they have to return all the money to him. Or if a car dealer sells a car and he didn't say all the right condition of the car, he said 99%, but one detail he left out, and that's a critical detail. We're not talking a little scratch here that doesn't change the value of the car. Or we're talking like he didn't say about the transmission that there's a problem. Or he didn't say that there is some kind of an engine problem or thing like this. And if he told the person, go and check the car, and the customer didn't want to check it, then it becomes its problem. But if he just told him, that's it, that's the car, and the customer asked him, the engine is good, he say yes, how much is the mileage? He cheat on the mileage, he doesn't say the right mileage, or he changed the speedometer. All these things, it's stealing from the Torah. It's called onaha. There could be millions of ways to deceive people. That's not the time to start describing every kind of deceiving. But many Jews don't understand that this is a very serious crimes. Whether it's a Jew, whether it's a non-Jew. Also to deceive him, it comes also Chilul Hashem. When he discovered the Jew sold me a fake, or not a real one, or not as good as he described it, and many other things. But you have to understand, sometimes, once you tell the person, I don't know the condition, go and check, and he gives up the right, then all the responsibilities goes on his head. No matter what happened, even an hour after, he comes back to you and says, I want my money back. You say, no, I'm sorry, I told you come take the car, I'm not an expert, I'm just a seller. I told you go and check, and you didn't want to check. It's your problem. It's all your responsibility. You took responsibility, now you have to keep up with what you took. So like I said, there's many, many things. In general, all kinds of deceiving is forbidden. We are talking now in selling metaltelim, we're talking selling merchandise, things that goes from hand to hand, products, cars, animals, electronic device in our days, all kinds of things like this. Mitzvah number 338, not to deceive any Jew with talking. Talking, sometimes you may say, I only talk, I didn't steal. But telling him all kinds of things that it's not true, and or there's another way, onat dvarim usually comes when you make pain and sorrow to your Jewish friend. You tell him things that upsets him, things that break his heart. So things like this, it's called onat dvarim. Upsetting a person is not allowed. It's forbidden. And for instance, the Gemara gives an example. If you come to a business of a Jewish person and you tell him how much is this suit, and you try it on, and he tells you the price of the suit and everything, and he's hoping, oh, finally I'm going to make my first sale today. And then and you knew that you cannot buy it because you don't have $1 with you. You cannot buy it. You're just coming and see how you look in a fancy suit or a jewel or anything like that. And then you say, okay, I'll think about it. And then he begs you, come, I'll take 10% off. Okay, no problem, I'll think about it, I'll get back to you. You never had any intention or ability to buy. It's a very serious sin. So that's called ona'at dvarim. You didn't really steal from him, but you upset him. It wasn't necessary. There's no reason to do it. You did it, and that's a sin from the Torah. Mitzvah number 339, not to sell any field in Israel for good, which means the Holy Land really belongs to Hashem. He is the master of the land. And if Reuven sell a property, a field, to his friend Shimon, right? You cannot make any condition that you sell him the field and it's going to stay barim for eternity. Even when the Shnat Yovel comes, when the year of the Yovel every 50 years comes, remember last week I said that you prorate the price of the field. If you have 10 years until the Yovel, in the Yovel the field has to go back to the original owner. So the more years you have left until the year of Yovel arrive, the more you have to pay, right? If you have 20 years until you have to give back the field, you pay based on 20 years ownership. If it's 40 years, you're going to pay double. If it's only 2 years, in 2 years, by the time you plow the ground, by the time you put the seeds, trees will not even grow. First 3 years, you cannot enjoy the fruit, so there's no value. 3 years before, you can only put vegetables. You're not going to be able to plant any fruit, so the field hardly has any value. So you come and say to him, listen, don't worry. Whatever the Torah says, it's one thing, but I'm going to be mochel. You can keep the field for 30 years, don't worry. Even though the Yovel come in the middle, we'll ignore it. Who's going to tell us what to do? Here, I'm going to sign a separate contract with you. You may think, what's the problem? Like in money, if you stole something from your friend, and your friend say to you, you know what, I know you stole it, I mochel you. You can keep it, no problem. Then retroactive, you didn't make a sin. Yes, you obviously made a sin, but once he's mochel, that's it. The sin is erased. Here, it's not the same. Here, he could have told you, okay, I know there's not that much time left, so I let you keep the field 20 years, or for good. Here, give me an extra million, and it's going to be, I don't want it back in the Yovel. I don't have what to do with it. I'm an old man. You can have it. You may think, what's the problem here? It's perfectly legit. The answer is no. That you cannot make any condition against the laws of the Torah, against the mitzvot of the Torah. Even though there's big arguments about it between the Chachamim, also in the Gemara, but, for instance, it says that you're not allowed to sell property to a non-Jew in a holy land. Why? The Goy doesn't care about Shnat Yovel. Once he buys it, it's his for good. He won't return it. It's his, that's it. Not going to be able to get him out. But some Chachamim say that if you make a clear contract with the Goy, that when the year of Yovel comes, he will give back the land, then you're allowed to sell him. So it's only for 7 years, or 8 years, or 10 years, whatever it is. It's coming back to Jewish hands, then it's okay. It's like really renting it. Today we don't have Shnat Yovel. If you sell it to a Goy, you can stay there forever. Ahmed and his son Mustafa and his grandson Said, they'll stay there forever. So there's no permission to sell the land of God to any one of the Gentiles that come from overseas or even live in a land. Only from Jew to Jew. You understand? And here, today, basically, there's a lot of problems in Israel. Like one rabbi wrote a book with the laws of the Torah, and all the liberal Jew and all the Goyim went crazy. Racism, prejudice, what's going on? We are the democracy. What's going on here? Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. We cannot behave like the Arab. By the Arabs, if you sell a property to a Jew, it's execution right away. They kill you. Here, the Torah didn't say to kill a Jew who does it, but to do anything they can to prevent it. And it's basically not allowed. I know about the Rabbi from Gur. He owns a lot of properties in most expensive areas in Israel, which is it's north of Tel Aviv. It's the highest real estate per square feet, the highest in entire Israel. And he bought it many years ago when there was nothing there, basically. And then that's how, Baruch Hashem, he made all his wealth. And the American embassy wanted to buy from him a place to make the American embassy in one of his properties. And it was a fortune. He was about to make many millions of dollars many years ago. And he didn't sell it to them. He said, I'm not going to do anything against what Hashem says. That's the halacha, that's the halacha. I heard that story. How reliable it is, I don't know. But for us to understand that it's a very serious thing. Mitzvah number 340, to return the property to the original owner on the Yovel without making any problems or any delay. Up to now, we were talking general rule for the buyer, for the seller. Now we are talking the buyer also have an obligation to return it. Whether it's a house on a field, whether it's a vineyard. Once the year of the Yovel comes, he returns it and he has no permission to ask anything in return. He says, hey, listen, I didn't have such good years. let me keep it, give me another extra year, I'll give it to you next year, no permission, nothing like that. Okay? He's not allowed to say, if you don't give me half of the money I gave you back, then I'm not going to clear the land, or anything like that. He must clear the land right away. Mitzvah number 341, it's to redeem the properties inside the cities by the end of the year. Let me explain. There are cities who are surrounded with walls. And before it becomes a full year, right? In other words, עד השלמת שנה אחת ואחר שנה תהיה בחזקת הקונה, אותם לא יהיו חוזרות ביובל. The Torah says like this, ואיש כי ימכור בית מושב עיר חומה. The Torah speaks separately about property that is inside cities, like it used to be in Jerusalem. It was covered with a wall. There's different laws apply to it. If there is a house inside a walled city that's surrounded with a wall, then the one who sells it has to do everything he can to redeem it before it becomes 1 year, before it becomes an official sale, which means it's really basically no permission to sell. If it's yours, it should be yours. If you are forced to sell, I don't know, you in debt, you couldn't pay the bills, whatever the case is, you have to do everything you can to redeem it עד השלמת שנה אחת, before the full year is completed. ואחרי השנה תהיה בחזקת הקונה, אותן, ולא יהיו חוזרות ביובל. But if it stays by the buyer more than the 1 year, they are not returned back in a yovel. That's why you have to do everything you can to get it within a year. This is a law that almost nobody knows, because it's not so common in our days. We don't have yovel today. We don't even have cities that are surrounded with walls anymore. And I have to understand, in the old days, when they wanted to surround the city, they had to surround it with thick wall, because they used to fight with bow and arrow and horses and all kinds of things like that. So the wall could keep you sometimes a year protected. Until they break the wall, it's very difficult. They have to bring pieces of wood, run and heat it, and again, or to burn it, and you shoot arrows from the top. They're afraid to get to the wall. So it was a fantastic protection for the people to have this wall. Today, what the wall is going to do for you? You come with a helicopter and blow out the whole place, or with a tank. So the wall is not so efficient anymore. It's not going to protect you. Even though you see today with the terrorism around Israel, they made a thick, big wall, because this can only protect people who walk, terrorists who come and walk as they used to walk in the middle of the night and come into Israel and make an attack. So that's preventing them from walking in. But if they want to make a tunnel under, or they want to come with a helicopter, which they don't have yet, but now when they're going to receive their own state, they're going to have an army, so they're going to have helicopters, so this wall will not help in any way. The helicopter would land, and they go and do whatever they want. So far it's helping. And technically, logically, since they made the wall, many of the terrorism attack that they used to have was reduced. The number was reduced tremendously, because they can only come from certain areas that the wall is not completed. There are certain areas that are still open. That's where they enter. But the areas that is surrounded with wall, they're just not coming. They cannot come to that area. But in the old days, almost, it was a major thing. Jerusalem was covered with the wall. 3 years it took the Romans until the Jews surrendered. The Romans didn't want to take a risk trying to break the walls, because they knew they're going to have a lot of casualties. So they just ambushed the wall, and they stood there for 3 years until the food finished. And then the Jews had to surrender. It was worth it for them to wait 3 years for the Jews to surrender than to lose thousands of soldiers in a war. This is how great the wall was, great protection. So this is city that's surrounded with walls. Now mitzvah number 342, not to change the yards, the fields of the cities of the Levites and their fields. Explanation is, we're not allowed to change the fields inside the cities that the Leviim have. The Torah mentions cities that are in a possession of the Levites, of the Leviim. Because the Shevet Levi didn't receive property in the Holy Land like the rest of the tribes. This is the tribe of Moshe Rabbeinu, and Hashem gave them cities that they would live in, right? So these cities that they got to live in it, we have no permission to change. What does it mean to change? Not the field, not the yard, not to exchange from one city to another city. We cannot change anything in relation to them at all. The Torah says all this announced city will be given to the tribe of Levi, to Shevet Levi. How many altogether? 48 cities, including the 6 shelter cities for the murderers, for the not intentional murderers if they killed someone by mistake. There are 6 cities that they run and protect themselves over there. As long as they live there, nobody is allowed to take revenge against them, the relatives of the deceased person. As long as they're inside the thing, and they have to stay there until the Kohen Gadol died. Once the Kohen Gadol died, they can come out. As long as he's alive, they stay there, and they have to be protecting themselves inside these cities, these shelter cities. Okay, so now the Torah says that has to, in these cities, you have to have 1,000 amah migrash. You have to keep 1,000 amah, which is 500 meters. 500 meters, about 500 yards. You have to leave it for beauty. It's very interesting. Place for the kids to play, for trees, for nice field, for the people to come and relax there. And 2,000 out of the border of the city, 2,000 to make fields and vineyards. This is also part of the laws of beauty. It's very interesting because today, even in every town in America, they have all kinds of restrictions. You cannot do whatever you want. Even if you own the property, you cannot build a building in every place. It's depends on the zoning. And also, if you have a property, for instance, where I live, only 40% of the property can be a house. The rest has to be grass or trees. Cannot be, it's not like Queens and Brooklyn, every inch of the property can become a house. You understand? Over there, you have to leave space between one house to another. They have all kinds of laws because they want to keep the place beautiful. They don't want to make it like a crowded ghetto, right? So all these laws and all the things that apply to these cities, it's a restriction in the Torah that we have no permission to change the laws that the Torah says. Mitzvah number 343, not to lend money to a Jew and charge him interest. Which means if a Jew asks for a loan and you give him a loan, you're not allowed to charge him interest. If it's a Goy, you're allowed to charge him interest, and you're also allowed to pay him interest if you borrow from him. But between 2 Jews, there's no permission from one to charge the other interest. Also, no permission to a Jew to be a broker between 2 Jews. Reuven needs a loan. Shimon, why don't you give him a loan? I have a friend, he's going to pay you 20% interest. Not allowed. If you are the broker or the witness or you participate in the transaction, it's a sin from the Torah. So this is one of the ways for us to prove to Hashem that we trust Him. That the parnasah is not by murdering another person, because when people need a loan, they don't think. They're under pressure. Whatever you want, they'll pay because they have bills, they have embarrassments involved, they owe money, so they think, it's only 4 or 5 months, no big deal. I'm going to make some money and pay it back, and usually they get stuck with that, and the interest kill them, and they borrow more and more and more and more, until sometimes it's ended up with life lost. It's going into this kind of problems. So a person, you want to give a loan, you give a loan and you trust Hashem that He'll pay you the interest, not your brother. By the way, this is one of the things that even the Muslims learn from the Torah. The Muslims don't charge interest one from another, and also their banks don't charge interest. There is Islamic bank, if you want to get a loan, I don't know how exactly the bank make profit, but they don't charge interest. Okay, so this is mitzvah number 343. Mitzvah number, by the way, interest is not only money. For instance, you say, listen, I'm not allowed to charge you interest, But what's in it for me? I'm going to give you the money. I can give it to a guy and make money. Now I'm going to give you the money. I won't make anything. He said, no, don't worry. Anytime you want to use my horse, you can use it. You want to use my donkeys, you can use them. You don't have to ask permission. That's also interest. Oh, you know, you can borrow this. You can do, if you want tools, you want to use my car, whatever it is. This is all interest. If it's a person you used to be nasty to him, never say hello to him, and now he gives you a loan, and all of a sudden he became very nice. Hello, Mr. X, how are you? This, why don't you come for tea, coffee? Why don't you come for Yom Tov? You sit with me in my sukkah. That's also interest. You understand? Because you're giving him benefits. Benefits, what has a value. All these things are forbidden. Mitzvah number 344, when you own a Hebrew slave, which means Jew from birth, you're not allowed to treat him bad. You have to treat him respectfully. He has a lot of rights. You sleep in good bed, he has to sleep in good bed. You eat steak, he eats steak. You give him rights. You don't treat him like a guy who comes and sells himself to be a slave for good. It's a different story. Even a guy, you don't torture, you don't beat him up, of course not, but you don't have obligations to be extra nice to him. Just give him orders and he does his job. But over here, you have to treat him with lots of respect because he's your brother. They give all kinds of examples what's considered disrespecting him. What's the borderline? Most of these examples that they give doesn't even apply to our generation anymore. These things that they used to do, taking tools to the merchatz, all kinds of things like this. But we got the idea. The idea is that he has more rights than a different Eved. I have to treat him with respect. Mitzvah number 345, not to sell a Hebrew slave on the stone in a market. It's called Even Amekach. Usually when the goy they want to sell one goy from another. They want to sell Reuven wants to sell Ahmed to Shimon. So they come like in an auction. You know how the auction's in a car? So they see him how muscular he is. They have a certificate. He's only 18 years old. He has many years to work. Look how big he is. So I want X amount for him. And it's becoming bidding. People bid, and whoever wants to buy him, buy him. And not allowed to do it to an Hebrew Jew. You know, you don't put him in things and people bid on him like a real slave. Because remember, an Hebrew slave, when he becomes your slave, when he owe you money, not to you, when he owe money and he can't pay, what happened? They sell him, the Jewish court sell him in order to take the money that he was sold for and give it to the person he owe money to. You understand? So the only reason he became slave because he couldn't pay back a loan. Not necessarily he's a criminal. Today, people who don't pay their loans, usually they are criminals because they never had intention to pay back. Or they lost money somewhere else, they still have plenty of money, and they say, who should I throw my loss at? Reuven. I owe him 100,000. Business was very bad this year. Reuven, listen, business was very bad. I cannot pay you back. I can give you back 20. You want to take it or leave it. 20 now or next week, nothing. Take it before I won't even have this. And the poor Reuven, what does he have? He has a choice. Okay, give me the 20. And he's stealing from him. You understand? So most of the people who don't pay back loans today, they're crooks. They don't have Yirat Shamayim. But it could be that a person is perfectly righteous. He took a loan, I don't know, somebody stole from him, he lost all his money, and he can't pay it back, and he becomes a slave. It could be a big tzaddik. He becomes a slave because he can't pay back. What are you going to treat him? You treat him like a slave? You have to treat him like a worker. That's the difference between worker and a slave. Okay, so you don't put him on this Even HaMekach, on that rock that they make other slaves stand on there. Okay, whether it's a male, whether it's a female, Ama Ivriya, also not the same. You don't do it. Mitzvah number 346, not to make a Hebrew slave work avodat parech. If you give him extra difficult work, it's a sin from the Torah. Like you kill him 20 hours a day, picking up rocks on his head until he collapses. Not allowed to do that. Or a job that never ends. You tell him, you see this field? He's going to work there 7 years, he won't finish. I want you to take all the rocks out of this field and throw them to the cliff, to the ocean. It will take 100 years to do it. Do it. From morning to night, you work non-stop. Boy, mentally destroy him. People like to know, I'm going to be finishing this job in 1 day, 5 days. So it gives them energy to continue. If you give him a job that works forever, it's never going to end. It's mentally destroying him. So there's no permission to do it. Or, for instance, doesn't have to be for the rest of his life. It could be that he said to him, work in the vineyard, I'm going away, work until I come. When are you coming back? I don't know. You'll find out. Could be tomorrow, could be 5 years from now. He doesn't know. He's under stress. When is he going to show up? You know, today, the owners of the businesses like to do it to their workers, whether it's Jewish or not. He say, hey, Vinny, I'll be back soon. He doesn't want him to know that he leaves and he won't come back until closing. So he have more time to steal. So he said to him, I'll be right back. And everyone who calls, where is Mr. X going to be back? He should come back any minute. He's not lying. That's what he told him. Sometimes he really comes back after 10 minutes. But sometimes it will be 10 hours. Since he doesn't know when he's coming back, he's afraid to steal because any minute he's going to step in. That's legit, no problem. He's a worker, he's not your slave. But slave, in Hebrew, slave who works for you, you're not allowed to tell him, work until I come back, or certain things like this. Mitzvah number 347, once you own a non-Jewish slave, even though officially when you own him, when you buy him, officially you're converting him, and he becomes like a woman in halakha status, but you don't release him ever. He has to know before he joins to work for you that this is an eternal contract. As long as he lives, he works for you. The only way he gets released is if you break a tooth or one of his organs. There's a list, I believe it's 24 organs, that if you dismantle this organ, you make it disabled, break it, or that's it, then you are forced to release him. And other than that, there is no permission to release him. So the Torah says, "Le'olam ba'em ta'avodu." You make them work for you forever, le'olam, for as long as you can, right? And someone who releases slave. Let's see, he say, "I don't need a slave anymore. I don't feel like seeing him anymore. I'm tired of seeing him. Let me just release him and finish." It's a sin from the Torah. It's violating one of the 365 restrictions that are in the Torah. What else we can say about this? Okay, now what happened if the master slept with this female Goya slave? Remember, once he bought her, officially he converted her. She's considered, we still call her Ama Knaanit. She came from Canaan, which is this cursed nation. The Torah is one of the cursed people in the Torah. But if she comes and you own her, and a person was with her, or whatever, and she became pregnant, and now she have a kid, right? The boy who is born, right, is automatically a slave, Evet Knaani. Or the female that was born, she's automatically a slave. Whether it's a boy or a girl, it's automatically staying a slave, even though the father is regular free Jew. But since the mother is Ama Knaanit, then the kids are also slaves, right? Now, what happens if the goy that just, it comes to a Jew and he wants to work for him, but he says, I don't want to leave my idol. Don't want to be Jewish. I just want to be slave. I don't want to be an idol. I don't want to leave my idols. I still believe in JC. I still believe in my Buddha, whatever it is. But I'm going to work for you. I'm a very good worker. Let me be by you. There's no permission to keep him more than a year unless if he kick his avodah zarah, his idol, and become Jewish, even though his laws is like a woman. Not all the mitzvot is obligated to keep, but if he refuses, you're not allowed to take him. Up to a year, yes. There's many laws apply to it, but I don't want to confuse ourselves too much, so we'll go to the next mitzvah. Mitzvah number 348, not to let a goy slave rule an Hebrew slave, which means not a goy slave, I'm sorry, a master. Vini bought a Jewish person owed him money. The guy was threatening him, so the Jew said to him, okay, listen, I'll be your slave. I'll work for you until I pay back what I owe you. So if the Jews see that the Jew is working for this Vini or Tony or whatever it is, they shouldn't sleep well at night when they know that there's a situation like this, because it's Chilul Hashem for the Jewish nation, that nobody came to help him out, that he ended up being a slave. So what do? We have to do everything we can to redeem him. It doesn't mean that we have to go in, break into the house of the goy and check how he treats the Jew, or that we have to go and collect money and knock on doors to collect money to redeem him. No. But if we have the ability to redeem him by seeing that he's working for that goy, then we have to do it. Whether it's a Jewish male, it's a male or female Jewish slave, doesn't matter. It's mitzvah to redeem them. Okay, now mitzvah number 349. There was a stone of avodah zarah that called Even Maskit. The Torah said, don't put that stone in your land to bow down on it. So the idol worshippers, they used to put stone with artwork on it, all kinds of drawing on it. You know, nice artists were drawing all kinds of nice pictures. And they put it in front of a big statue. And everyone come on that stone and bow down to this idol. And so if you see something like this in the land, don't have permission to keep it there, and definitely not to make one for it. Even if there's no idol over there, just making that stone alone is already a sin. Doesn't apply to our generation, I believe. Nobody does that stone anymore. So here is an example of an irrelevant mitzvah that doesn't apply. Even Mashiach come, even Bet HaMikdash come, this restriction doesn't apply anymore. Because to the best of my knowledge, nobody makes this stone anymore. Maybe I'm wrong, but I never heard of anybody in the world that make this stone with drawing in front of a statue and they have to bow down on that. Could be, we don't know. Mitzvah number 350. When you have to evaluate the value of a person. When do you have to evaluate how much a person worth? When he got injured. So you have to, the Beit Din has to evaluate his value, and but sometimes there's another way when you have to evaluate a person. When you say, I'm going to give my worth to Bet HaMikdash donation. My worth. Now, me and my friend, I'm worth X amount, and my friend worth Y amount. How do we know now? Can a person evaluate himself? He cannot be objective. If he doesn't want to give too much money, he's going to be humble. No, who I am, I'm garbage, I'm nothing. Why? I said that I'm going to give my value. I thought I worth $10. I didn't mean I worth $10 million. I'm worth a few dollars. It's not up to you. Same thing if sometimes a person wants to receive a lot of money, if somebody injured him or whatever, he say, what? I'm the biggest big shot. What? You know. So, my friend, it's not up to you, not for good, not for bad. Who does it? The Kohen. There's a Kohen, this is his job. He has to evaluate a person. So, of course, it depends on how old he is. That's the first criteria. If If he's 99 years old or if he's 19 years old, you don't expect them to have the same value, right? Even though someone who murdered a person that is 120 years old and another hour he would die anyway, it's still a full murder. And he still be executed in a Jewish court. There's no really difference. You understand? But when it comes to evaluating a person with money, then he has to go to the Kohen, and based on the vow that he made to Bet HaMikdash, that's the Kohen evaluate him, and that's how much he has to give. And it's called a neder, a vow that he made. Or sometimes a person swear. Either way, it's the same idea. Mitzvah number 351. We don't have permission to replace the kodashim, the sanctified sacrifices that we have. For instance, if there's an animal that you say that this animal is a gift from you to Bet HaMikdash, to the holy temple, so you automatically sanctify this animal. You cannot use it anymore. You cannot drink from it. You cannot cut the wool. You cannot tie it to the plowing, to plow the ground. You cannot sit and ride on it. It's not yours, my friend. Yeah, it's still by you, but you have to give it to the Bet HaMikdash. Now, what happens if all of a sudden you change your mind? You saw an animal that is not as good. So you know what? Let me keep this one and I give this one instead. They don't know what I did. It's up to me. I only told them that I'm giving you tomorrow a cow, whatever. But they don't know what kind of cow. Why should I give this one? It's healthy, nice. Let me give this garbage one. Not allowed. That's it. This one is holy. You can add more, but you cannot replace them. Right? So it's a lo yachalifenu velo yamir oto. Do not replace it. Do not exchange it. Right? So there's no really permission. And if they know that somebody like this did it, they have to prevent him from doing it, even by beating him up in a beit din with a whip. This is the obligation of not replacing anything that you made holy and dedicated to Bet HaMikdash, to the house of God. Mitzvah number 352. What happens if a person violates the previous rule? He wanted to give this animal, and he said, I'll keep it for myself. This animal will be holy instead of this one. Now he got himself in a big mess. Now he has to give both of them. Because once he said this will be holy, doesn't matter that later he say instead of this one. Once he said this is holy, it became holy and belongs to God. So now he has to give both of them. You understand? So you never lose by giving donations. You only make. But in his mind, he eats his heart. Oh, what a fool I am. I wanted to give an animal that is not as good as the one originally I wanted to give. Now I ended up losing both. Mitzvah number 354. To evaluate a house that you donate, and the Kohen has to evaluate it. Let me explain. If a person say, this house that I have in Tel Aviv will be dedicated to Bet HaMikdash as donation. I'm giving it to Bet HaMikdash, to the house of God. Then you change your mind. You want to give a different house of yours. You need this. I don't know, you decided to move to Tel Aviv. What happened? You can do it. But you have to pay 20% penalty, the Torah says. So the Kohen comes to evaluate the house, but don't worry, it's not like today. They're going to do everything they can, like the taxes, the assessor. All real estate in the United States went down 30, 40, 50%. By them, the property continued to go higher and higher because they want to milk you for more and more taxes. And everyone come to town and say, I don't understand. 3 years ago, the house was $1 million. Now it's not even 700. How you continue to assess it with $1 million? That's the value. They ignore reality. Now, if it's going to go higher to $1.5 million, of course, they will change the assessment. But if it goes down, they never downgrade the amount. But over here, it's holy. The Kohen doesn't come and make it more because he's going to become a sin from him for the Torah. What am I going to do? I come, I tell you that your house worth more for you to give 20%, which is higher, and then I'm going to become a sinner? So what's the point? So the answer is, this is a person who has Yirat Shamayim. If he comes and says that the house worth $1 million, you want to replace it with a different house or whatever, no problem. Or you want to give money instead. You want to give money, so you have to give 20% extra, which is a penalty. Mitzvah number 355, to evaluate a field that a person has to give. If a person sanctifies field and wants to donate it to Bet HaMikdash, now he changed his mind, he wants to redeem it back. He has to give what the Torah said. The Torah gave evaluation. Not like here in a house, he called the Kohen to evaluate, because the prices of the houses range based on the location, the size of the house. There's all kinds of things that change the value of the house. The real estate market, etc., etc. But over here with the field is different kind of evaluation. The Torah says when it's a wheat is one price. When it's barley, it's different price. Also based on size. But I guess it has different value of the wheat and barley is different prices. So the Torah gave all the measurements and the prices. Based on that, you evaluate a field. This is how much you're going to have to pay Bet HaMikdash. It was yours. Yesterday it was yours. You say one word. It's holy. It's going to Bet HaMikdash. 5 minutes later, you change your mind. You have to pay now to Bet HaMikdash. It's not yours anymore. One word. Look at the power of speech. I once made a whole lecture and gave all these examples how we have to be careful what comes out of our mouth. Sometimes you can even make a vow in your mind. If you want to give a person who sits and learns Torah, you want to give him donation, and you have in mind, I'm going to give him $1,000, and then the Yetzer Hara begins to come to you and say, hey, you're crazy, it's too much, give less, why 1,000, give half, it's also good, believe me, he'll be happy. He has all these thoughts in his mind, and even though he never say to him, I'm giving you, but he's already decided in his mind to give 1,000, he must give 1,000, even though he never said. It's not that he made a neder, I'm giving Reuven $1,000. He didn't say it. He just finished deciding in his mind. We are not talking that he's debating in his mouth. How much should I give him? Should I give him 1,000? Should I give him 500? Should I give him 1,500? Should I give him in one shot? Should I give him over 12 payments? He's thinking. That's not considering decision. But now he stopped thinking. That's it. I'm giving him 1,000. And he left it alone. And then an hour later, he come and say, 1,000, it's too much. Too late, my friend. You finish, it's like saying it. You must give it. Many people don't know it. You don't give it, you lose it anyway. You might as well do the mitzvah. Mitzvah number 356, not to change the sacrifices one from another. For instance, if we have to do shlamim, we don't change it to Chatat, Asham, all these things, each one according to what we have to do. We don't mix the names of the korbanot. It's obvious, but there's still restriction in the Torah not to do it. Mitzvah number 357, it's called cherem, charamim. It's like a person say, something that I own, yehi cherem, will be cherem, and that means they have to give it to the Kohen in Bet HaMikdash, right? So it says, when do they give it to? In Bet HaMikdash, there's different causes. One thing is called bedek habayit. That's like in a shul. You have maintenance. There's cost of maintaining the shul, electric, constructions, rug, chairs, all kinds of things to maintain the building. That's called bedek habayit. So if a person say, this one, I'm not interested in it. It's like putting it on a ban. So that's automatically is dedicated automatically to bedek habayit, to the Kohanim to get it. Right? So if the Torah wouldn't tell us, we wouldn't know what to do with that. If a person put a cherem on something that he owns, he puts it in isolation, on a ban, then what would you do? What do you do with that? Everyone can come and take it? So the Torah says, no, it goes automatically to the Kohen. Once he did that, the first people who have rights is the Kohanim. In the time of Bet HaMikdash, it was a great deal to be a Kohen. Today, They do Birkat Kohanim, all kinds of things. We don't really have that much rights because there's no Bet HaMikdash. But they also have no obligations today. They don't have to serve. They don't have to cut, slaughter, clean the animals, do sacrifice, burn, eat meat all day. They don't have all these things. But soon, Bezrat Hashem, when Bet HaMikdash will be rebuilt, everything will go back. But it's only a privilege to a Kohen that is righty. Any Kohen that is lefty, it doesn't really help him as a Kohen because he cannot serve in Bet HaMikdash. Only righties can do. Same thing, writing Sefer Torah, all these things, righties. Lefty, it's a problem. Usually they say that lefty are smarter people. I don't know, maybe it's just to say. But being lefty, it's you deprive by many things. You lose many rights. It's not only harder to drive. You know, for that you get used to it. But there's all kinds of things. When you put tefillin, you need a special order. And according to Kabbalah, you have to take it off from your right hand and then put it on the left, because it still have to be on the size of the heart. There's all kinds of things. No big deal, but if you are a Kohen in a time of Bet HaMikdash, you feel the lost. They say the Chafetz Chaim, if the Bet HaMikdash would be built in his time, he should be the Kohen Gadol, who was more righteous than him in his time. But not that many people knew that he was the lefty. He couldn't be a Kohen in Bet HaMikdash. So he was riding in left, doing everything in left. Okay, now, mitzvah number 359. Mitzvah number 358. That if a person dedicated this field, which means he put it on a band, and automatically he was dedicated from the Torah to the Kohanim, right? There's no permission for him to sell it. Once he said it's in Cherem, that's it. And the Kohen gets it. He cannot come to the Kohanim and say, hey, Reuven, I dedicated this field to Bet HaMikdash, but I have the right to decide to which Kohen to give it. I don't want you to take it. I'm going to give it to him unless if you give me something for it. So he said, well, what do you want? He said, listen, it's worth $50,000. Give me your nice car over there and I'll give it to you. Like, if not, I'll give it to this Kohen. Why should I give it to you? Start negotiating. He wants to get something for it. Once you put it in a ban, on a cherem, it's finished, my friend. You cannot get a penny for it. Mitzvah number 359. There's no way to redeem a field that you put in cherem. If you say, I'm not interested in this field, automatically becomes the property of the Kohen. There's no way now to come to the Kohen and say, listen, do me a favor, sell it back to me. Here, I give you half of what it's worth, give me back. I made a mistake, I was angry. My wife got me angry that day. Out of anger, I said it. Give it back to me. Even if the Kohen agreed, there's no permission. Once you gave, you gave. Now you may say, okay, to this owner, it's not allowed. What about to sell it to somebody else? Maybe you sell it to somebody else and he will sell it to him. So you're finding a way to do it in a kosher way. So the answer is, lo yimacher leacher, will not be sold even to a different one, velo yigael lebealim, which means it's no permission. Once it's there, it's theirs. That's it. Other things that a person dedicates to Bet HaMikdash, he can redeem with money. Okay, I say that I'm going to give you this animal. How much it worth? $2,000. Take the cash, leave me alone. I need it. No problem. But here, charamot is higher level. There's no way to redeem it or to buy it back from the Kohen. Mitzvah number 360, to give 10% of the animals, the pure animals who are born to you. If you have horses, that's not pure animal. You don't have to dedicate anything to Bet HaMikdash. Not donkeys, not camels, not cats and dogs. But cows, sheep, etc., these animals, they call behemot teorot, pure animal. And every 10th one who is born, automatically you mark it as holy. This is the expression that we use in Rosh Hashanah, the Judgment Day. The Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah say, Rosh Hashanah, kulam ovrim lefanav ki bnei maron. Everyone passed in front of Hashem's eyes to the judgment like Bnei Maron. The Gemara asks, what's Bnei Maron? What is it? It's like the sheep, that a farmer has sheep, and many of them are born. So now, all the new ones, he has a narrow gate, a size of one animal. And one animal passed at the time, and he's standing with a brush, with color, and every 10th animal he marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, he marks. 11, 12, 13, up, 19, 20, 30, 40, up, and all of them goes to Bet HaMikdash. This is his maaser. Today we don't have maaser be'ema, we don't have all these things. We still have maasrot on the animals. We don't have to give it to Bet HaMikdash because there's no Bet HaMikdash, but it's holy. We have to put it aside. There's a special thing in the Siddur to do, to throw a coin. There's like a short ceremony to do it. And we have Orla today, for 3 years. We spoke about it. You're not allowed to enjoy from even in the exile, not only in Israel. And we have Maaser money. We give 10% of our money. But that's just about it. Many of the things that they had in the time of Bet HaMikdash, does not apply anymore. Mitzvah number 361. Once you separated the holy animal, 1 out of 10, you put them already to dedicate, to give them to Bet HaMikdash, you cannot sell them. It has to be eaten in Jerusalem, in Yerushalayim. Remember, only in a generation that the temple exists. That there's no way to sell it in any way. The owner or anyone he chooses will eat it in Jerusalem. So you take it, you roast it, you cook it, whatever you want to do, and you invite all the poor people or your relative or anyone you want, and they eat it with you in Jerusalem, right? The Torah says, Lo yigael, you don't redeem him, whether he's alive, whether you slaughter it, doesn't matter, right? So only you got to take it to Yerushalayim and enjoy it over there. So far, we finished now Sefer Vayikra. We finished Bereshit, Shmot, Vayikra, we're done. Now we have 2 more books, which will be Bamidbar and Dvarim. And we are now actually starting in Parashat Naso. This is the longest parasha in the Torah, which I expect to have a lot of mitzvot over here in Naso. Actually, not that many. Okay, all right. So, mitzvah number 362, we have an obligation to send the impure people out of the camp of the Shekhinah. Out of, for instance, if a person has leprosy, right, metzorah, zav, he has leaks, anything that makes him impure, right, we have to isolate them from the Jewish people. Whenever they are, you have to isolate it from the group. This was in the time of the desert, the 40 years that they're moving in the desert. You have to get him out of the territory where everyone lives. Isolate him. Also, it's a warning for the impure people not to enter the Mikdash, not to enter the temple. Okay, so this was mitzvah number 362. Mitzvah number 363, that a person that is impure not allowed to enter any part of the Bet HaMikdash. It's actually Kol HaAzara, from the place of the Azara, Sha'ar Nikanor, that's the gate of Nikanor, and all the way to the Azara of Israel, they're not allowed to go in. Once you go in, you make the place impure. So there's no permission for an impure person to walk in. Mitzvah number 364, a person has to make a confession on a sin that he made. When a person makes vidui, we do it every day, 3 times, morning and Tfilat Shachrit, right after the Shmona Esrei. In Mincha, at least the Sfaradim and some of the Ashkenazim also. So we do it also. And before we go to sleep, when we say Shema, we make vidui. The reason we try to do it minimum 3 times a day, can do more times, like in the Slichot. So now we are doing it 4 times, because we do Slichot. So why it's important? Because you don't know when you die. And every few hours we already make a lot of sins. Already, Lashon Hara here, problems there, bad thought, looking at something in the street you're not supposed to, not doing a bracha with intention, it's already late and you didn't pray it, all kinds of things. If you die, you don't want to die with many sins in your hand without making tshuva on it. So if you do vidui every few hours, the chance that you die with many open sins without trying at least to make tshuva on is not so big. If you do it once a month, of course, you're going to accumulate 1,000,000 sins. And you died before the confession, it's a problem. You didn't make official tshuva on it. That's why we try to do many viduim. Every time a person do chatati, aviti, pashati, believe it or not, is a mitzvah from the Torah. Many of the chazanim, the people who pray in a shul, they don't know that much Torah, and they finish it in 10 seconds. Up and sit down. You don't even say 3-4 words, you already finished 40 things. Like this, like a robot. So I even see people like this. He forgot where he is. I mean, mincha, shachrit. They just told me they don't send the check. Whoa. Where am I? Forgot. Better not to do vidui. If that's how I want to do, if a person does it, he has to do it slow. And think about every word. Without thinking about it, it's better not to do it. It's like being a clown. You have to think. If you can think fast, so you think fast. You do. Most people don't think fast. They think slow. So they have to think, chatati, what does it mean? Aviti, what does it mean? Pashati, naafnu, ganavnu, gazalnu, gainu, all these things, it has a meaning. You don't understand Hebrew, take the English Siddur, it has one side Hebrew, one side English, and do it in English. The idea is to break your heart with tshuva. So, confession, the Christians learn it from the Jews. You understand? The only thing is the other parts of repentance they didn't learn so good. Maybe they didn't come to the yeshiva when the rabbi was teaching. So they only give the priest $50. They stand behind the scene. I did this and this and this. You're forgiven, son. Go, continue tomorrow with what you want to do. Over here, it's not like this. You have to stop. I made a whole series about the laws of repentance. Every Jew must know it by heart. Must. Because it applies every day of your life. It's not mitzvah that you do once a year, once every 7 years. It's every minute of your life. The most important thing to know, the laws of repentance. So a person, when he goes into these laws, you know, you have to leave the sin, you have to be ashamed, you have to accept never to repeat it, you have to have a broken heart for it, you have to ask every day for Hashem to forgive you, you have to confess with words, you understand? You have to give tzedakah for it. You have to have Yom Kippurim, the Yom Kippur who comes, that erase some of these pending sins yet, and some sins like Chilul Hashem, actually only when you die it can be forgiven. Even Yom Kippur doesn't erase. Chilul Hashem, disgracing the name of Hashem in public, it's a very serious problem. So this is the mitzvah of vidui, confession, vidui dvarim. Mitzvah number 365, Isha Sota, a woman that she's a suspect. Her husband is suspecting her of cheating. He saw her with a boss inside a hidden room. She locked herself in a place with another man, and then they come out. He doesn't know what happened there, but he heard rumors. Somebody come and say, well, I saw your wife having a meeting with this man already half an hour she was in a room. If he suspects his wife that she's not a kosher lady, he has the right to take her to the Kohen in Bet HaMikdash. The Kohen writes the name of Hashem, which is 72 letters on a cloth, like a mezuzah card. He puts it in the water, the ink goes in, and she has to drink it, and if she cheated, she falls and dies, the wounds explode, and she dies. And if not, the Kohen give her a blessing, that all her children will be Talmidei Chachamim, and this is more or less what it is. The reason that they have this mitzvah in the Torah, that Hashem made it, because it's very difficult for a husband to live peacefully with a wife that he suspects that she's cheating on him. It's very difficult. It's killed him. It drives him crazy. All the time is off. So it's definitely that they cannot live in peace and harmony. And Hashem is very interested there will be peace in the house of every Jew. That's why he agreed to erase his name, which is a very bad thing. To erase the name of Hashem, it's a horrible sin. But over here, there's an exceptional permission that Hashem gave, that in case like this, the woman will go, she drink, and you clarify the doubt. If she sinned, she deserves execution. Not like today, they put her on television and give her a new car. You know, she become a famous right, today. For there's many sins that she does with other men, they give her more credit today. In the time of the Torah, a cheater, that was her end. So either way, she deserved it. So if she died, she died. If she doesn't die, she got the best gift. That all her children, the bracha of the Kohen Gadol is a little bit better than the blessing of the rabbis in our generation. It's guaranteed to happen. Mitzvah number 366, not to mix oil in korban sotah. This korban sotah, this woman that she's a suspect, as I just described her, she has to bring a sacrifice. And you're not allowed to mix oil in it. Why? You don't make the sacrifice fancy like the rest of them. There's nothing to brag about. It's nothing to brag about that you became a suspect, that your husband cannot live with you anymore because he thinks maybe you went with another man. If you already got to this status, you are a sinner one way or the other. Yeah, maybe you never let a man touch you. But the fact that you close yourself in hidden rooms and you don't care what people say, and the reputation of the family that you give to your family, that's already nothing to brag about. Don't mix the oil that they normally do. Right? Okay, so that's why her mincha, her gift to Hashem, that she didn't die, it's in the lowest level. Also seorim, which is lower than the rest. And, okay. Mitzvah number 368, that the Nazir, actually mitzvah number 367, not to mix levona, it's a special spice, in korban sotah. Same thing I said before, not to mix the oil. Now they don't put levona. Levona, it's a spice with unbelievable smell. You smell it, it's like paradise. You don't, usually they put it in the Torah and this. Over here you don't put it. The same reason before. There's nothing to brag about. Make it simple as much as possible. There's no reason to brag. Yeah, he stayed alive, but you already have nothing to brag about. Mitzvah number 368, a monk should not touch wine or anything that is made from grapes, raisins and all these things. What does it mean, a monk? The right word is Nazir. In English, it's not the right interpretation. Monk is not exactly the right word. I don't think there's any better word to describe. Let me give an example what it is. It's a person who decreed on himself that he's not cutting his hair anymore. He became a Nazir, like Samson in the Torah, he was Nazir. So he doesn't drink wine, he doesn't eat grapes, he doesn't eat raisin. Anything that comes from the grape is forbidden. Okay, so what happened is if he drinks it now, he's violating his neder, is the vow that he made. So it's a sin from the Torah. Whether it's a male, whether it's a female, it's forbidden. Mitzvah number 369, the same monk, the same Nazir cannot eat grapes. Now we're going to have a series of restrictions. Cannot drink wine, squeeze grape juice or wine with alcohol, without alcohol, doesn't matter. Now the Torah specifically speaking about grapes, wet grapes that you eat, anavim lachim, right? Okay, also mitzvah number 370, that is not allowed to eat raisins. Okay, so the Torah, one time the Torah say anavim, which is the regular grapes. Then it say anavim yeveshim, dry grapes, which is what we call raisins. Also not allowed. Mitzvah number 371, not to eat, the Nazir cannot eat the seeds of the grapes. I don't know any normal person who wants to eat it. It's the most bitter thing in the world. But believe it or not, they have a medicine that's made from it. There's a medicine that they make. They grind this seed, and it's against flu and cold. It's good for the vaccine system. And even though it's very bitter, usually you mix it with orange juice or something so you don't feel that it's so bitter. But if someone is Nazir, even from the seeds he cannot benefit, cannot eat the seeds. If he ate, not one, it can never be a sin. It always have to be 1 ounce and higher. To be considered eating has to be at least 1 ounce, 28 grams. It's called kazait. Anything you eat less than that, it's also not permitted. But you didn't meet the minimum requirement to become a sinner. It's not allowed, but when is a complete violation? When you do it 1 ounce and higher, whether it's a restriction, whether it's a mitzvah. You eat matzah, has to be minimum 1 ounce, kazait. You eat challah on Shabbat. If you don't eat kazait, you cannot do birkat hamazon. If you don't eat at least 1 ounce. So anything you eat less than 1 ounce, really it's not considered eating. For positive or for negative. Then, mitzvah number 372, not to eat the peels of the grapes. Let's say you peel it. I don't know who has patience to peel grapes, but you peel a piece of it and you want to eat now. If you eat the peels, is also a restriction of a Nazir. Once you say you don't enjoy from the geffen, you're not allowed to enjoy anything from it, from the fruits of it. Mitzvah number 373, that the monk, the Nazir, cannot cut his hair. The entire period of time that he made his vow, from here to here, becoming a Nazir, is not allowed to cut or to shave his hair. All the time. Ta'ar lo ya'avor al rosho. No, nothing. Whether it's a knife, razor, whether it's scissors, whether it's any kinds of way to cut the hair, not allowed. Right? What happened? What happened if he pull his hair with his hand? Let's see, he has a hair, pull it out with a root. Also not allowed. Also not permitted. So this is still, you can see we have like about 6 or 7 things that only relates to one thing, which is the laws that applies to the Nazir. We have 2 more things. I want to get to an even number. So mitzvah number 374, now it's the same thing like before. Before we say not allowed to shave the hair or to cut it. Now it's a mitzvah to grow your hair. Same thing. But if you cut the hair, you're violating 2 rules from the Torah. One, that the Torah says do not cut. That's a restriction. And one, that the Torah says that if you took it upon yourself to become a Nazir, you have to grow your hair for the period that you said, which is actually one transaction, 2 different mitzvot from the Torah. Mitzvah number 375, the Nazir cannot enter the tent that there is a dead body in it, or a house in our time. Anything that has ceilings and fence around it, it's considered a tent, oil, because it's covered. It has clear dimensions. So if there is a dead body, just like Kohen is not allowed to enter, this Nazir is also not allowed to enter. Okay, so mitzvah number 376, we're going to get to 80 and we quit Bezrat Hashem. 376, that the Nazir cannot become impure from a dead body even when it's his father or his mother. You know, if his father, Chas v'Shalom, passed away, he's also not allowed to go near his body, or his mother. Right? So we see that he has high level of holiness and restriction that doesn't apply to a regular Israelite. Like a Kohen. You see, like a Kohen. Kohen doesn't have a problem eating grapes. He's like a Kohen and extra. He has more restrictions because he accepted it on himself. You put yourself in this status. Kohen, nobody asks you. You come from Aaron a Kohen, you're from his descendants. Whether you like it or not, you must keep it. Over here, a Nazir make himself in this status. Mitzvah number 377, when the Nazir finished his time, now he's coming out of this Nazirut, out of this status, he has to shave his hair and to bring a sacrifice in Bet HaMikdash. Okay, so the Torah said, Beyom Melot Yemei Nizro, when he fulfilled his vow, right? He has to go to Yerushalayim, they shave him, there's all kinds of list of things that he has to do. So that was mitzvah number 377. Mitzvah number 378, mitzvah for the Kohanim to bless the nation of Israel every day. Today, in Eretz Israel, everyone does it. All the Kohanim, whether it's Sephardi, Ashkenazi, they all do. In America, or the rest of the exiles, only the Sephardim do it. The Ashkenazim do it 3 times a year, in Musaf of the 3 Regalim, 3 times a year. Why they do it 3 times a year? Because they hold that a Jew cannot be happy enough to be able to bless others when he lives in the exile. If he's not connected to the land of his fathers, to the Holy Land, how can it be happy? How? That giving all this, So in a holiday, that's like cheering the soul up. A holiday is very happy. V'samachta b'chagecha, it's mitzvah to be happy. So that's an exception to the rule. So 3 times a year in Regalim, they do it. So I know many big Ashkenazim, the Gdolei Ador, whenever they come to America and fall on Chol HaMoed or something like that, on purpose they come to our yeshiva in Monsey, which is Nosach Sfaradim, to pray Shachrit by us. Because they say, how can we go one day in our life with missing Birkat Kohanim? This is an incentive to all the Sfaradim, Baalei Tshuva, that go to an Ashkenazi minyan in the morning just because it's convenient, or it's a shtibel, they have every 15 minutes a minyan. Yeah, it's convenient. But you have to take into consideration that you lose a very big mitzvah from the Torah, especially if you are a Kohen. If you are a Kohen and you have a shul here and a shul there, and over here you can do a mitzvah from the Torah and you go over there, really have no answer, no excuse. If you're a regular Israelite, you're just losing the blessing. You have an opportunity to get the blessing from the Kohen. The Torah says, V'ani avarchem, because you're giving bracha to the things, I'm going to bless all of you, and you're giving it up. Maybe it's a problem in your Yirat Shamayim. You have to check yourself carefully.
There's a milah there to go.
Huh?
There's a milah corresponding.
Milah for who?
A milah to go to that place where they want to go. Maybe it has other things.
No, of course. We are not talking that one minyan is kosher and the other is not. We're talking both minyanim are kosher, and you just go because it's maybe faster to get there, it's across the street, maybe the davening is a little bit later. That's what I meant, convenience. Convenience means instead of getting up at 7, you're going to get up at 7:30. So you're missing an opportunity of doing a mitzvah. And I'm just saying what I say based on, like, for instance, Rav Steinman, when he comes to Monsey, he's sleeping by the very famous philanthropist Ashkenazi, and he bring him to our minyan that he won't miss Birkat Kohanim even one day. What's the problem? He's dismissed. It's Ashkenazi. He's in the exile. Doesn't have to look for it. He doesn't care. He come to pray with us, and many other examples I saw. Why? Because they don't want to miss the advantage of having Birkat Kohanim. It's a big thing. But again, if there is a kosher minyan or a non-kosher minyan, and in a kosher minyan they don't have Birkat Kohanim, but in the non-kosher minyan they do have, of course it's better to go to the kosher minyan. That comes before. I mean, when I say kosher minyan, if there's women, it's a complete separation. There's no talking. They pray slow and clear without rushing quick, 1, 2, 3, and want to just get rid of the davening. If all these requirements are met, and both places, then you prefer to hear Birkat Kohanim. But if not, of course, you first have to go to the kosher minyan, even if you miss Birkat Kohanim. Also, I give an example. If somebody learns Torah, let's say, or work in his job, if for whatever reason he has to sleep late at night, let's say he goes to learn after work, he comes home, he eats, he stays with his wife, and then when they go to sleep, he has chevruta from 10 to 12. Then by the time he gets home and take a shower and go to sleep, it's 1 already. And the Sephardic minyan is, let's say, 6:30. It's not enough for him to sleep. If he goes so that early, he will be tired all day. So if he's going to learn not as good because he didn't sleep enough, it's no point. You lose more than you gain. You gain Birkat Kohanim, you lose 10 hours of Torah in a lower value. Or if you work for someone, you're a teacher, or you're working for your boss, you're selling in a register, and you're not as clear because you're tired, you're on the border of stealing because your boss is not happy. I mean, he hired you to do the job correctly. If you have sleeping and you look dizzy all day until you move, you work less, then you become a thief. What good is Birkat Kohanim? So a person has to sleep enough hours to be fresh, to fulfill his obligations in life. You're a teacher, you have to come clear to the thing. No cell phone, no breaks, no personal phone calls, none of these things. And if you cannot do it, then don't get the job. Why? Who wants to be a thief every second of his life? Okay? So if the only way to catch a minyan later is without Birkat Kohanim, but at least you're going to do your job in a proper way, so of course, so you miss Birkat Kohanim. You got to use your common sense, when and what. Sometimes they need you for minyan. If you're not going to go, these Ashkenazi minyan won't have a minyan. That's a big mitzvah to do. It's chesed to everyone. Thanks to you, the other people have minyan. That's more important. Because Hashem prefer that you do chesed, which is the oraita, and thanks to you, there's going to be a tefillah in that place, and it's keep the shul going, than to just think about yourself. I don't want to miss the bracha, and in the end, they left with no minyan. So if you know they need you for minyan, with or without you, there's a doubt, maybe there won't be minyan, then it's a big mitzvah to go and to be mashlim minyan. Or sometimes it's chas v'shalom avelim, could be an Ashkenazi avel, you know, and they need to complete minyan, and because of that, you're going to miss your Birkat Kohanim. It's also big mitzvah. So always, no matter what in life, there's always sometimes two mitzvot that one may contradict the other. One comes on the expense of the other. And that particular test, you have to put both mitzvot in that particular time on a scale and see which one is better off, here or here. And if you have a doubt, you call your rabbi to ask him what to do. Mitzvah number 379. It's mitzvah to carry the coffin of the Bet HaMikdash, of the Mishkan, on the shoulder. There was sticks that they carry it like this on the shoulder. When the nation of Israel taking it from one place to another, the Torah says, "Ki avodat hakodesh aleim bakatef isau." You don't pick it up like this and walk. You have to pick it up in a way that it was designed for. It's mitzvah for the Leviim, right? In the time of the desert only, because after they enter Israel, they have a permanent temple. Doesn't apply anymore. So obviously we don't have it in our time, and even if Bet HaMikdash will be built, this mitzvah is finished from the world. It was only to the time of the 40 years. Of course, chas v'shalom, no mitzvah from the Torah will ever be changed or canceled or dismissed. I don't want anyone to get the wrong impression, but I'm saying that even if we had Bet HaMikdash, for us today there's no way to do it, because this mitzvah was given specifically for the time that they move from one place to the other and have to carry it from one place to another. If it's in one place, there's no point of taking it, so it doesn't really, is not so relevant anymore. Mitzvah number 380, it's Pesach Sheni, second Pesach, exactly a month after the first Pesach, and the 14th of Iyar. We do on the 14th of Nisan, we prepare the Korban Pesach, and then Leila Seder, it's at night, which becomes the 15th of Nisan. Those Jews who were impure, they could not eat from the Korban Pesach, from the sacrifice of the Pesach, because they were not pure, they touched a dead body, or all kinds of things like this. Or converts that had Brit Milah, but they didn't go into the mikveh yet. So it's like in a process, but they're not ready yet. So Hashem gave them a second chance to celebrate the Pesach exactly a month later. Today, we don't have it, but on the 14th of Iyar, we don't do vidui, because it's like a little Yom Tov. It's like a memory of how it was from the Torah. It was a special day, because many of the impure people now come and celebrate Pesach. It's not as big as the rest of the nation. So someone who couldn't do it, or he was far away, not necessarily he was impure. He's pure, but he's so far, he won't make it. He won't make it. He's very far away. So he has a second chance to come a month later, and that he doesn't miss this year the obligation of the Pesach. Also, we should know that if everyone in Israel is impure, everyone, they do it. But if individual, the minority are impure, they cannot do it. But if everyone is, then you don't dismiss this mitzvah from the general rule. So there's all kinds of rules apply to this, but that's it for today. We finish it. We are, Bezrat Hashem, we did a lot today. So we started 330, right? So we did 50 mitzvot today. Very good. So Bezrat Hashem, next Monday, it's actually Erev Yom Tov. I think we should skip, because we're too close to Sukkot, preparing the Sukkot and all that. So we will return Bezrat Hashem after Sukkot. So the following 2 Mondays is going to be Yom Tov. I mean, Erev will be before Yom Tov and then in Yom Tov. So we will return the Monday after Sukkot is completely finished. Please keep in mind. Thank you very much. Chag Sameach, Gmar Chatimat.